Remember the days of school when you had stuck-up classmates, obnoxious teachers, homework, classes which you're never going to use? You'd also get the weird substitute teacher who would take over the class and force you and your fellow pupils to kill each other for their amusement. Remember those classes? Or was that just me? But if you're longing to relive those days, you should definitely play Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. In this video, I'm going to be going over why Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc is by far and away a game you should definitely play, because it is a unique experience. I'm going to be trying to avoid spoilers here, but I'm going to be talking about some of the highlights of the game, and why it just really clicked for me. I have no idea why. I do not like the type of genre this game falls into, but for some reason this game, I really liked it. I don't know why. So, please watch the video, remember to like and subscribe if you like this content. We're just starting out this channel, so please support it. And without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about this game. The plot of the game is that you play a Makoto Naegi who is attending Hope's Peak Academy, the school that is known for having ultimate pupils. And the characters in this game are all ultimates. That'll be the ultimate martial artist, the ultimate swimmer for example. They're all experts in their field. And these are the best of the best. And what is Makoto's talent? He's the ultimate lucky student. He just got into the school by dumb luck. But the school has been hijacked and they've been kidnapped and held hostage by a demonic bear called Monokuma, who forces them all to kill each other in order to survive. The premise is that if they kill someone and get away with it, then they get set free. It's the job of Makoto and the other classmates to try and catch the killers, otherwise they'd be sentenced to death. But if the killer gets caught, they'd be sentenced to death by these trials called, they get sentenced by executions. And these are elaborate, overly complicated, and slightly hilarious means of killing a person. I mean, just ask Celeste over here. Now you might be wondering, why is this all occurring? Well, I'm not going to go too much into detail here. I'm going to go more into detail later on in the video, but this is a battle between hope and despair. Basically, Monokuma is trying to get these peoples to fall into despair, and it's not really well explored here, but at the end of the game there is a twist, and it becomes a serious oh shit moment in the franchise, I think. Not in the franchise, this is the first installment, but in the franchise as a whole, it feels like a big oh shit moment. A big reveal, if you will. So, I'm going to cover the characters here, and we've got 15 students to work with here, plus Monokuma. So, it does give us a large range of characters, but there is some you won't know that well, and that's because of the nature of the game. This game is constantly killing off characters. So, unfortunately, if there's one early on you go really attached to, chances are they're not going to make it. At the end of the game, there are 6 survivors, technically 6, but there's 5 humans among that, so obviously Monokuma survives. The other 5, I didn't like. There were some much more colourful characters in the game, and I kind of wish they survived instead. But don't get too attached in this game, because you might wind up disappointed with who survives and who doesn't. So now we've covered the characters, I'm just going to say this here. I'm going to make a top 5 list for the characters because I do want to talk more about them. But I can't really talk about them too much here because I want to continue on to the other aspects of the game. So, regarding the gameplay, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of a bit of a hodgepodge. When you're not in the trials, it's your typical visual novel or walking simulator, pretty much. You can talk to the characters, you can interact with them, you can pick your favorites. You can't romance the characters, which, thank God that's not here. I mean, I do not like romances in video games. It can get awfully weird and the fanbase can get really weird about that, but thankfully it's not in Danganronpa. I'm not sure if it's in 2 or 3, but thankfully it's not here. Also, you can collect these things called mono coins to put in a slot machine, and it produces some really weird items. I'm not gonna lie, these items got me chuckling a wee bit because there was this one bra which is made of 2 hands, and I just gave it off to Junko, the ultimate fashionista. It was just like, how does someone take this gift and not throw it away instantly? It is such a bad gift, but this vending machine is so much fun just to mess around with, see what you get. And it gives you use for mana coins, because aside from that, they've got no other use in this game. But in the courtroom, this is where most of the gameplay comes, because whilst you can investigate even in the normal style of the gameplay, like the walking simulator visual novel side of the game, in the courtroom, this is where the gameplay explodes. Like, you have to argue with other classmates. You have to literally shoot down their argument, which is where I think the first-person shooter thing came from. You have to be really specific on which argument you shoot down though, and with what truth bullets. Truth bullets are basically your counter-argument, and you literally have to fire it at their argument. It is so stupid, and it's so much fun. But this is the weird part, because the trials also have these 3 other modes in them. One of them is basically Hangman, where you have to sort of guess the words. They give you a set word, you sort of have to guess out the rest of the word from these letters, if that makes sense. The other 2, one of them is you have to build a diorama on what the crime scene was. So you have to work out what the killer did through these dioramas. And the artwork is really good. Like this one with Celeste, it looks really pretty, and I really like this artwork. I wouldn't mind getting like an official art book of this. The other gameplay mode, I don't even know what this is called. It is such a weird gameplay mode. This part of the trials is so weird. It is like a rhythm game where you have to mash the button along with the beat. And this allows you to refill your ammo so you can shoot down the opposition's argument. It is like a more fast-paced version of what I mentioned earlier regarding shooting down the argument. This is timed, you have a health bar, you can get a lot of damage, and it is such a weird gameplay mode. I really like it because it is so weird. If someone told me someone mixed Call of Duty with Dance Dance Revolution, I would have laughed in their face, but this is actually really fun, and I really want to see a game that uses this. It's just the whole game. It is so addictive and really fun. It became a favorite part of the trials, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm getting excited because I really like this. You might be wondering, these are all good sides of the game, what are the bad sides of the game? Well, that would be, there's not a lot of time to interact with many of the other classmates. And there are resolutions that when you interact with them, there are a case of, if you interact with someone like 3 times, you get their sort of character arc ending. And it just doesn't give you enough time to do that, in my opinion, because, again, these characters are dropping so quickly you don't get to spend a lot of time with them. And these characters are really good, I'm not gonna lie, I had some real favourites in there who could really relate to. But you just don't get enough time with them, because the story needs to march on. Thankfully, there is another mode in the game, where you can just interact with these characters. And Monokuma makes you construct robotic Monokuma replicas. It is really weird, and it's sort of not as fun as the main game, I'm not gonna lie. Another issue I have with the game is that the game really does over-explain itself. Now I know since this is a bit of a mystery game, you would want people to sort of get the rough idea of what's happening. With this game, it goes around in circles regarding reinstating points you already know. Reinforces what you already know, and it really took some of the edge out of the game because I already figured out who most of the killers were. The final villain did evade me for a bit, but once I figured out the general picture, I was like, oh, that's who she is. I get to her later on. But it is just, they reinforce what you already know, it's just going around in circles, it's spinning its wheels. And it does kind of suck that that's happened, because I think the game would have been better if it had some suspense, and hell, maybe even do an alternate path thing. I know because of the way the trials work, that you can't really do like, oh, this murderer is not actually, he gets away with it. Because then they're going to realize like, hey, I'm the murderer, I didn't get set free, what the hell, Monokuma? But I'm thinking like, wouldn't it be cool if Makoto screwed up and someone like Yapia, the ultimate affluent progeny, turned out and got it right? and just that sort of changed the gameplay. Like they don't trust Makoto as much, but they trust Byakuya, and that could like change some dialogue and interactions. That would be cool. But I'm gonna go over the characters again because I forgot to mention something in more detail this time. Because I feel like this sort of gives you a vibe of who they are, and you could probably figure out who's the killers. There's Makoto, who is the typical anime protagonist type character. If you've seen an anime, you know what he's all about. He's very outgoing, very extroverted, and he's nice. He's not very interesting, but he is nice. There is Hyoko Kirigiri, who doesn't have her secret talent initially revealed, but she is quite an influential player in this game, so you can probably even figure out what her talent is just by the way she interacts with people, so keep an eye out on her. She's sort of like the secondary protagonist of the game. She's really interesting to watch, and it took me a while to warm up to her, but she grew on me. Byakuya Togami, the ultimate affluent progeny, as I mentioned, he is kind of a jerk. Even people who like him think he's a jerk. And that is why a certain character sort of loves him. I'll get into her later on because she's nutso. But he's kind of a jerk, he's your typical rival. He's also kind of bad at this because he makes a lot of jump to conclusion type calls and it just sort of backfires on him. He kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie. Toko Fukawa, the ultimate novelist, or the ultimate writer to be exact. She's introduced as sort of a weird character. She quickly falls for Byakuya. For some reason, I didn't see what this girl sees in him. But I'm gonna go to her more interesting part, and heads up, spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, don't continue. Skip to timestamp as shown here. She is also the ultimate murderer. She's got an alter ego called Genocider Jack. And that character is a lot more fun, I'm not gonna lie. I never thought I'd prefer the murderer to the normal character. This is like Jekyll and Hyde if I prefer Jekyll more. Or is that Mr. I think I've got those two correct, I'm not too sure. I haven't read that book yet or whatever. But Genocide Jack is really fun, she's your typical psycho nut character. And she is having a time of her life in here. Like, you can really tell she loves this, so she's a blast to see on screen. I know some people really don't like her, but I love Genocider Jack. I wish she was just in the game all the time. But sadly we get stuck with Toko. Aoi Asahina, the ultimate swimmer. All I can say about her is that she is nice, she's energetic, she's very headstrong, and she's kind of an idiot, I'm not gonna lie. She's another character to sort of balance her out a bit, but that character doesn't last for the whole game, sadly. Yasuhiro Hagakure, the ultimate clairvoyant. He's sort of like your shaggy kind of character from Scooby-Doo. He's a coward, he runs away, he panics, and he's basically the whole game's comic relief. He gets a bit annoying, but he's okay. There was one trial where he's really heavily involved, and that's because he accidentally got himself framed for being an idiot. It is just... he's a blast to watch, but he can get a bit much sometimes, especially when the game starts to wrap up. I don't think he should have been a survivor, I'm not gonna lie. Sayaka Mizuno, the ultimate pop idol. This girl was presented as sort of like a dual antagonist or love interest for Makoto, but I don't mean to spoil too much here, but she doesn't last very long, sadly, so don't get too attached to her, she's okay. She has some shades of interesting character development early on, but she's heavily involved in the trial early on, so just don't get too attached. That's all I can say, there's nothing really else to say about her. Leon Kuwata, the ultimate baseball player. This guy's really fun. I'm not gonna lie, he is just sort of like the typical jock, but the funny thing is he sort of doesn't want his talent. He kind of just wants to be a music star or something. He just has no interest in playing baseball, and that's actually really interesting because I'm glad they explored that, because it just sort of gives you a vibe of like, hey, this guy's a real character, he doesn't necessarily want his talent, he's just really good at it. Sort of reflects well on real life, because some people have talents and they have no interest in that talent. So it makes sense that it'll be taken to this logical extreme where this guy's like the best in the world, probably. But he has no interest in his talent, so he's stuck with it. Chihiro Fujisaki, the ultimate programmer. As an IT guy myself, I really liked her from the get-go. She has a bit of a twist around the second trial, and it sort of explains a wee bit, but I wish it was in the game more, and I wish she was a survivor. She also builds an AI called Alter Ego, who's just an extension of Chihiro, but there's nothing much really to say about Alter Ego, so Chihiro's a good character, and I kind of wish that we got more out of her. I'm putting an emphasis on her. If you play the game, and go find out why I'm putting an emphasis on it. Because she's a really great character, very interesting, and so she's some good representation, I'm not gonna lie. Mondo Uwada, the ultimate biker gang leader. This guy is sort of like, Jotaro Kujo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Sort of a bit of a toned up, hot-headed version of that. He's very aggressive, very angry. He is a biker gang leader. And he's got a very tragic backstory regarding his brother. Again, play the game, you'll find out about it. I like this guy, especially his relationship with the following character. Kiyotaka Ishimaru, the ultimate moral compass. This guy's basically me, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of really attached myself to this character earlier on. He's so stuck up, he's so awkward. It really leads to a lot of comedy regarding him, and he has a really good bond with Mondo. They have some tiffs early on, but because of one standard situation in a sauna, they become really close, and it's tragic when something happens to Mondo. Play the game, and it's just, I felt so bad for him. And then he'd something else happen with Alter Ego, and I just want him to get better, but he just sort of doesn't survive, and I wish that instead of Yasuhiro, Kiyotaka would have survived. I wish he survived to the end. It just sucks that he sort of was taken out of the game too early, like he hadn't finished his story arc, and I wish I would have seen that taken to fruition. Like, the Kiyotaka that came out of the game, how different would he have been from the Kiyotaka at the start of the game? He's the ultimate moral compass, pretty much. And his morals are challenged a bit in this game by the other characters. Like, they call him an idiot. They say, hey, your plans didn't necessarily work. And initially, he's presented as the leader of the group, and I kind of really liked him. That would have been really interesting as Makoto started to come into his own. Like, would Kiyotaka necessarily step back more and let Makoto take the spotlight or become a more leader of the group? Like, that would have been interesting. I just wish this character survived, damn it. Hifumi Yamada. Fuck this guy. Celestia Ludenberg, the ultimate gambler. This character, she looks very villainous. That's the first vibe you get from her, and it's kind of on the mark. But she's actually really calm and relaxed. I was considering her to be an eccentric. I was thinking she was the ultimate goth at one point, but no, she's the ultimate gambler, and I really like that one of those unique design makes her really memorable. Plus her name, and you find out that that's not her real name because it obviously isn't. This game is set in Japan. Having a character called Celestia Ludenberg in Japan is it's a wee bit outrageous, I'm not gonna lie. So she says she's from European descent, that's what the name is, but you find out that's a load of bullshit. Sakura Ogami. She should have been a survivor. She is such a great character. She has to go through such a hard journey in this game, and she really gets hurt at some points in this game. And it's like, girl, I want you to live, I want you to survive this game, please don't die. And it's like, oh, she dies. It was heart-wrenching. Especially the trial where we find out why she died. It was just, why? Why game developers? Why was she pull at my heartstrings like that? Junko Enoshima, the ultimate fashionista. This character dies very early on. Or does she? Now we're getting to the villain, Monokuma. This guy is a little bastard, and I love him for that. He's always setting up some sort of trick, he's always setting up some sort of ploy. He's always in control of the situation, and in extremely rare situations, it's taken away from him. It is such a fun time watching him do his thing. And whenever you defeat him, it feels really satisfying, because this guy was a real pain and killed nearly 10 people. he is insane, and it is so fun to watch him do his thing. His voice, at least in the English version, is perfect. It captures the very cartoony spirit of the character, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in the later games. And his theme is awesome! Now I'm gonna get into the final level of the game. And if you don't want any spoilers, skip to the timestamp. Junko fucking Enoshima, the ultimate despair. This girl is the final villain, and we find out that not only has she trapped the kids in the school, she has destroyed the world. She's driven them all into despair, and these kids weren't kidnapped in this school, they were put in this school for sanctuary. The world is so bad that the kids have locked themselves in this school to get away from the despair. And it's been infiltrated, it's been taken over. Junko's got in, she's ultimately despaired the place up, knocked the kids out, took their memories, and controlling things from Monokuma. You might be wondering, who was the Junko Enoshima that she turned to a pincushion early on? That was her sister, the ultimate soldier, Muko Igisaba. She's not much of a character, so I didn't include her in the character list. Holy sh... This girl is nuts. She killed her own sister. Well, she's always changing personality, which makes it extremely difficult to argue against her because you don't know what she's gonna throw at you. This girl is nutso. And she's probably reached the my top 10 villains in gaming. She is just so nuts, and it's so fun to watch her do her thing. I mean, play this game only for her. It is insane how she does all this, and how the voice actor knocked it out of the park in my opinion. She is just a fun villain who knows she's evil, and the way she goes out, it's fitting. She gave herself into the ultimate despair. It is really appropriate. Anyway guys, that's my thoughts on Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc and why you should play it. This game is a roller coaster. You will love it. I know I've given away some spoilers here, but even if you have been spoiled, play it. If you've already played it again, this game is... it's nuts. It is completely insane, and I love it for it. It is just typical anime nonsense mixed up with these convoluted schemes these characters come up with to kill each other. And you're never going to experience this again unless you play any of the other games. It's just so much fun. Play it. Anyway guys, thank you for watching this far in the video. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions for this type of format, put them down in the comments down below. We're still trying to figure out the format of this YouTube channel. And remember to like and subscribe. Peace out, and remember...
It's punishment time!